Adventure Time used to be weird for the sake of just being weird. But somewhere along the lines, it turned into this emotional, layered piece of art. It was beautiful, and it deserves a spot of top three cartoons I've ever watched. It's up there with the likes of Scooby Doo and Regular Show, in my opinion. And let's talk about it on this episode of The Kevin Show. Adventure Time is one of my favorite shows of all time. It follows Finn, a human boy, and Jake, a magical dog, throughout the land of Oo. The land of Oo is this colorful, magical place filled with candy people and mythical creatures that quite literally are just coexisting with our two protagonists, Finn and Jake. The show opens up with Season 1, Episode 1, and it's a zombie slumber party. Quite literally, that is the premise of the first episode. Spoiler alert, if you couldn't tell, I'm going to get into spoilers, and there's nothing to really do except for click off. So if you haven't seen Adventure Time, I highly recommend you go watch it, come back to this video, and give it a rewatch. You'll understand a lot more, and a lot more things will make sense. The early days of Adventure Time were very dreamlike. They were very weird and fun, and quite honestly, didn't make any sense, right? But it didn't have to for you to enjoy it. You lived through the land of Oo with Finn, everyone's favorite hero, right? If you've watched Adventure Time, he ranks pretty high up on most people's lists. He's just a good character, right? There's nothing really wrong. It kind of helps you reminisce on what childhood was once like, before you learn that your actions have consequences, that different things that people do might have consequences against you. It's just something that you learn, and Adventure Time displays that very well, right? After the Chaos Era, after the era where everything was just weird to be weird, you begin to feel this shift. This shift of Finn growing up. Finn and his friends becoming adults in a certain light, right? Finn started to realize what life really meant, what loneliness felt like, what falling in love felt like, what forgiving somebody and learning to forgive and accepting forgiveness does, what grief and heartache does. He began to not protect the candy people for the sake of being a hero, but towards the end of the show, he began to protect his own mental sanity. He began to make decisions based on how they would affect him. He began questioning what it truly means to be a hero. And it shoots off in such a way that we were either too busy crying or too busy laughing to ever notice that it does this. In episodes like Thank You, where you had the ice golem helping out the firefox, it's almost a completely silent episode, completely random and out of the blue. The show explores themes like selfishness and helping others out. You have I Remember You, where Marceline and the Ice King kind of reminisce on what their lives were like before this magical land of Oo. It begins to explore and create almost like a storyline. It does such a good job in doing this that you don't realize it's happening when it's happening. Finn begins receiving consequences, and sometimes he's not quite sure what to do. There's a point in the show where he quite literally loses his arm. And the way he has to deal with it, the way he has to improvise, the way he has to make life better again, right? I imagine losing a limb is something pretty serious, and Finn had to grow with it. He had to learn to live with it, right? He didn't have some crazy turnaround for how he's going to get his arm back. He just dealt with it in the best way that he knew how. And that's beautiful to me. Finn goes through a lot of the things I can relate to personally. Finn gets rejected by several individuals, his father being one of them, and he turns into this complete emotional wreck. He doesn't necessarily understand what's going on, how the world works. Finn goes through situationships, I would honestly call them. I never would ever really say that Finn was dating any of the girls he was interested in, but he began to play with people's hearts. He began to make mistakes. It's something that the show explores really well. It's something that if you truly look, and read between the fingers, you see that Adventure Time isn't Adventure Time anymore, right? While what you come to know Adventure Time for up to this point was being that weird, fun, whimsical land, and when you hit roughly I remember you and thank you, that's when it shifts to a completely different space of mind. Adventure Time didn't quit being weird, but it started using its weirdness to say things. It started teaching us a message. It started giving us different things to think about. You quite literally watch Finn grow up throughout the show in more ways than one. You learn with Princess Bubblegum that control doesn't mean peace. That just because you're in control of something doesn't mean that it's always going to be easy. You learn with Marceline how to move on from your past, how to become a new person, how to shed a new light. You learn with Simon how painful love can be, how truly down bad love can bring you to your knees and just kind of leave you there. You learn so many different things that it would honestly be hard to bookmark them all and bring them up to you. Adventure Time is a beloved show for a reason. It is truly a part of the era of Cartoon Network where Adventure Time, regular show, all of these different series that were coming out started off as this light-hearted, super fun show, but then helped us grow up in a sense. Whereas some influences we didn't have growing up, these shows taught us these different things, right? I feel personally that I've learned quite a bit from some of my favorite cartoons. I've learned quite a bit from some of my favorite movies and TV shows as well. It kind of puts into a different light when you look back upon these things and realize one of the things that Adventure Time actually teaches us is that nothing really changes except for everything, right? And what I kind of mean there is that everything stays the same, but also changes over time. You get so used to just life moving that you don't stop and appreciate it sometimes. You don't stop and appreciate how beautiful life can be. So that's my challenge to you this week. To stop and appreciate something. Right? We tend to move really fast and not even think about the consequences some of our actions have, but Adventure Time teaches us that you should care about the way things unfold. You should care about, movement A, how it turns into movement D, and how how movement D turns into E and F, and so on and so forth. Everything that you have influence over, treat it well, because you never know when you won't have something or someone. And with that, that's the end of the Kevin Show. It's the end of this episode for tonight. I'll see you guys soon with another video. But for now, please like, comment, and subscribe. That's the red button down below. I try to throw up a video at least every day. Click the bell to get notifications. Right now we're doing the cartoon series. Who knows when it changes? When I feel I've run out of cartoons to review and break down, it'll probably change and you guys will get a head up. But until next time, I'm Kevin and this is my show. It's The Kevin Show. Have a good night.